Hello, and welcome to the Catching the Octopus podcast. Here, we will explore how connecting inward gives us an advantage outward. We openly talk about the obstacles and challenges and difficulties that life throws our way and how they become moments of gratitude and things that can benefit us when we look back on our lives. I'm your host, Niomi Hurley, and it is my mission to bring you top quality guests that will share with you openly their obstacles and also the techniques they use to go inward that strengthens the way that they serve themselves and others at the highest level. Thank you for joining. Let's get started. Welcome to this episode of Catching the Octopus podcast. And in today's episode, we're going to go a little bit different. And I want to talk a little bit about the past life regressions. Now, what I want to do is actually showcase how helpful they are for personal and professional development. So some people are just there for, oh my God, this is interesting, I want to give it a go, right? But others really want to use it as a tool to be able to level themselves up or create a greater understanding of what's been going on. Now, firstly, just covering this form of regression that I do into the past lives is done via hypnosis, right? So hypnosis is altering one state of consciousness in a way that promotes heightened focus and openness to suggestion, right? The state can often be mistaken for falling asleep or being unconscious because it looks like someone's asleep, right? It has that outward appearance of really deep relaxation. However, individuals under hypnosis are not asleep. They're just in that state of focused awareness. And contrary to the common misconceptions of being under control of the hypnotherapist, so the hypnotherapist cannot control a client that is under hypnosis. And the American Psychological Association defines hypnosis as a cooperative interaction wherein the participant responds to the hypnotist's suggestions with the ability to resist any that may conflict with personal ethics or desires. So the APA has identified it as a really helpful tool and not being dangerous for people to start clucking like chickens and barking like dogs, right? So if we look at the neuroscience aspect of it, the brain under hypnosis changes, right, when we can study it. So studies using fMRI and EEG have actually documented those specific changes in the brain activity. And they show how hypnosis can modify the perception, the emotion, and the behavior of people and gives a bit of a light about the different brain areas that actually connect when people are in that hypnotic state. And there's a study by Oakley and Halligan 2017, if you wanted to look into that a little bit more and learn a bit more about that. But one of the hallmark findings of this is the reduced connectivity between the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex and the default mode network. Now, what that means is it's thought to facilitate a state of absorbed attention and reduce self-consciousness. So what that does is it takes out that conscious mind element to allow us to focus on what really is going on inside us at that subconscious level, right? So when we look at hypnotherapists, especially the stage ones, we can think, oh yeah, look, people are going to cluck like chickens, bark like dogs. I get asked quite often actually if that's what happens. And it is a bit of a myth that individuals can be compelled to act against their will or reveal maybe secrets that they have, but scientific studies and clinical practices firmly debunk this. So they show that while hypnosis enhances that suggestibility, it doesn't rob individuals of their free will or moral judgment. And there's another study by Lynn Ruin Weekes, 1990, that you can actually go and have a look at that showcases this. So this clarification is actually crucial for ethically leveraging hypnosis in therapeutic contexts, ensuring that it's used to empower, not exploit all of those individuals that are seeking help. And the hypnosis that I facilitate is a therapeutic hypnosis, and I've never had anyone do anything that they didn't want to. In fact, I actually had one client that I took back and regressed back to an earlier part. This was in this lifetime, a childhood memory. And they actually said they did not want to share the contents of the memory. And that's okay. So they actually knew that it was something that was private to them. Now, they still got what they needed to out of the session because they still got that connection with their subconscious mind and saw what they needed to see in that space. Now, hypnosis is also helpful for a lot of things from pain management right through to mental health. And the applications are really varied as they are also significant, right? So it's been effectively used for pain management, and there's research demonstrating its effectiveness in reducing pain associated with surgeries, dental procedures, and chronic conditions. And there's another study, Montgomery, Duhamel, and Red 2000, that showcases that. So beyond the pain relief, though, hypnosis has also shown promise in treating psychological disorders, including anxiety, depression, PTSD, and phobias. And it offers a complementary or alternative approach to those conventional therapies. And a lot of the conventional talk therapies can take months, if not years, to get to the bottom, but hypnosis gives that direct link. And, anxiety is one of the main things that I work with in people and get some fantastic results for them in that space. I have worked with some phobias as well, just trying to get people that were more inclined to go and take some risks, right, and put themselves out there. It's also being used to improve sleep quality, assist in weight loss. And I've had clients in both of those spaces that have had some really great results. So I remember a 10-year-old boy came in, was having trouble sleeping. We did a hypnosis or an RTT session together. And after that, his mum said that he was sleeping way better. He's actually going to sleep not long after his bedtime, and he was actually having a good night's sleep and waking up at a decent hour. And that saved her having to wake him up in the morning and him being cranky. And she said it's interesting, by the end of the week, the teacher actually asked what was different with him, whether he was on medication or something had happened, because his behavior had improved. And so we don't realize sometimes how impactful lack of sleep is on us. So it's produced significant improvements in symptoms, and it offers relief to sufferers when those traditional treatments can sometimes fall short, when people are trying to get it. Now, it's not for everyone, and that's fine. Not everything is for everyone. Some people don't like talk therapy. Some people just want it done and would just rather hypnosis. Some people, even after this podcast, may still feel a little bit apprehensive, and that's still okay. So, the scientific community is still continuing to explore its mechanisms and its applications and how it works, right? And there's ongoing research that aims to refine our understanding of the hypnotic state and also identify individuals most likely to benefit. So I've never had anyone that hasn't been able to go into the hypnotic state I need from a therapeutic point of view. However, there's probably a 90% success rate for most of them. And I was doing stop smoking sessions for a while, which were 80% success rate. So it's not 100%. And that's where science is still investigating and saying, well, why not? Or who are the people that are going to get the best results from this? So as we delve deeper into the neuroscience of hypnosis, we're also likely to uncover more about the potential of this fascinating state of mind. So, when we're talking hypnosis and we're looking at those psychosomatic illnesses and also the mental health spectrum spaces and just things like sleep and other behaviors as well, we can look at why the subconscious is creating a need for this. And I've also done hypnosis in group spaces, in workplaces. It's amazing for increasing sales and creativity, because you can go in and look at, okay, what's holding you back from making those cold calls, or what's holding you back from coming up with really great ideas or sharing them in meetings, right? What's happened in your lifetime that's holding you back from that space? So once we understand that, then we can reframe it and we can move on. And the thing about hypnosis is it takes us into a really unique space. Now, the whole concept around past lives, if I'm being honest, 5-10 years ago, someone would have said past lives and I would have gone, oh yeah. And I didn't not believe, but I did think people are a bit cuckoo, right? So this is a limiting belief I've had to overcome because I'm doing it. What led me into it, though, is part of my accreditation with the rapid transformational therapy, or RTT, that I do, was having ongoing sessions with other therapists that have been accredited in this space, so that we could actually give each other feedback and hone our skills, right? A bit of PD. So one of the sessions that I had done on me, so I was evaluating someone else's abilities there and their techniques and skills. I went into a past life, and I didn't really believe it at first, but when you're in it, and you're in that space, you just have a knowingness, like you just know. So anyway, I had the session. The other scenes I went back to were in this lifetime, but that one was really predominantly not this lifetime. It was the clothing I was wearing. It was the feel of the environment. I don't really want to go into too much detail because it's quite personal about what I was going into in that scene. But pretty much it was in a completely different era. So that got me thinking. And my logical mind is still here, right? So my logical mind kicks in and it's like, okay, you need to validate this and see if it is real. So I reached out to a group of friends, and some of them had had RTT before as well. So they understood what hypnosis was. And I'm like, hey, just come across this. Would you be interested in being a test crash dummy? Now, they all know me. They all know where my head's at. They all trust me because they've had sessions with me before when I was in my training phase. Or some of them were actually clients that I thought might appreciate it. So I did these sessions and blew my mind. It was beyond anything I could ever expect in what scenes came through and what information came through. And one of the sessions, the client had actually said to me afterwards, it wasn't even the scenes I went back into, it was the deep connecting understanding that I got that connected with my purpose here and how that had been created through different experiences I've had before. So it's a really profound experience. And because of that, you can learn a lot of different things, right? And look, let's look at reincarnation, past lives, those sorts of things. There's a lot of history around it, right? The belief of reincarnation and past lives transcends individual religions and philosophies, and it embeds itself into the very fabric of human history and culture. Now, this is something that we traditionally did believe in. If you look back at Indigenous groups and cultures, they have a strong belief of ancestors and how they contribute to life today. If you look at the American Indians, they talk about reincarnation into different animals and spirits coming back to watch over people. So, even the Egyptians went back and thought and had belief systems around that reincarnation space. So the cycle of death and rebirth is also central to Hinduism, Buddhism, and Jainism. So these religions offer detailed understandings of how karma, or the actions of a person's life, actually influence their future existences. And these belief systems provide not only an explanation for the inequalities observed in life, but also it's a moral framework that encourages this virtuous living, right? So it encourages people to live this life in the best way possible because they know that that's going to set them up for future lives that they're going to be reincarnated into. So it also has philosophical underpinnings in ancient Greece. So the first notion of reincarnation was also present in the philosophical traditions of Greece in figures such as Pythagoras, Socrates, and Plato. So Plato alluded to the soul's immortality and its ability to reincarnate. There's also some works that Plato did, The Republic and Phaedrus, Phaedrus, I think it is, and discuss the journey of the soul and its reincarnation based on the purity of one's life and actions. So these discussions contributed basically to the Western contemplation of the soul, ethics, and the afterlife on how we did them. But as we've evolved and that spread of those reincarnation beliefs has actually been, it's shifted, right? So as societies evolve, so do the complexity and diversity of those beliefs. So the spread of major religions and philosophical teachings around the globe basically introduced, merged, and sometimes clashed with those indigenous beliefs. So there's this rich tapestry now of spiritual understanding regarding life and death and life after death. But in modern times, there's become now more interest in reincarnation and past life spaces. Just purely because there's notable cases of people that have past life memories, hypnosis regression therapies. If you have a look at Dr. Brian Weiss, I watched an Oprah special on him not too long back, and he did a group hypnosis and also hypnotized Dr. Oz and another guest that they had on there. And you saw how he kind of did it. And as I'm watching it, I'm like, that's how I do it. Now, I've never read any of his works. I've never met him, but I sometimes feel like the way I do things is not always my idea, right? And sometimes we're in that space. I'm going to turn left instead of right. And I turn left and, oh, I missed a big accident. That wasn't your idea. Okay. So I was like, wow, my technique is exactly the same as his. That can't be a coincidence.
If you're enjoying this podcast and you want Niomi or any of her guests featured on your podcast or as a keynote speaker at your next event, you'll find their contact details included in the show notes. If you'd like to learn more about how you can work with Niomi individually or as part of your strategy to improve leadership in your business, then review the courses, offers and services at getupandgoconsulting.com.au.
He actually was in a similar position as me, but probably a little bit more notoriety. But he was the leader of, in charge of the psychiatrist board where he worked, and was very notable in that psychiatric space. So he was hesitant about coming forward and telling people that he'd had clients that had gone into past life regressions during their healing process. But now he's very open saying it. So, there's him now bringing up things and having examples and verifying the data that's actually been brought up as well to show the legitimacy of this. And so there's like now a bit more of curiosity about the soul's journey and the nature of existence beyond the physical life that we're living now. But, as religion did spread and it became something, there was a lot of fear around believing anything but what the religion told us. Now, we're in a space now where we all have our own different spiritual beliefs, and we're encouraged to do so, right? We're encouraged to have open minds and critical thinking, and just because someone's a different religion or has a different faith base, it doesn't mean that we need to go to war and have conflict. But there was a time in the world that we did, so we've been embedded through that time to have certain belief systems or push out anything that doesn't fit into the box of this is what I see, this is what I can feel, this is what I know, rather than, oh, there's this stuff on the outside that kind of doesn't fit in the box. All right, I'm going to say it doesn't exist, or I'm going to switch off to it. So when we're looking at that hypnosis space in the past life regression, it's very helpful for that professional growth and leadership development. And that's why I'm sharing it on the podcast, if you're wondering why we've gone through this journey, right? There's so many innovative approaches that we're always looking for as leaders to enhance our personal effectiveness, our emotional intelligence, and also the team dynamics of the people around us. So, one of these more unconventional tools that is emerging now is past life regressions, right? So I facilitate them under hypnosis, and it involves going back and accessing memories of previous lifetimes. And while they're accessing those memories, my clients are able to uncover personal strengths that they've had in previous lives and brought into this one, or that they've actually been gifted for this lifetime because of things they need to learn. Also addressing unresolved issues that they've got in this lifetime that they don't understand where have come from. It's also really helpful for clients identifying areas for growth because they're easily recognized during this space. And it can provide profound insights and transformative experiences, contributing to that enhanced professional capabilities and also enhancing those leadership skills. So let's talk about how it works, right? So a past life regression serves as a bit of a mirror, and it reflects the innate qualities and strengths that we carry across many lifetimes. So by revisiting those past experiences, we can uncover abilities such as resilience that we've had, or creativity, or leadership, or empathy that have become pivotal in overcoming the challenges that we've had in previous lives. Or we can actually identify where we haven't taken action that's actually impacted us, and that showcases that it's okay to take that action, and drives us a little bit more to shift some of the limiting beliefs that we've either created here or that we've brought into here. It can bolster self-confidence and inspire individuals to leverage their strengths in current professional roles. So, for instance, discovery of a history of leadership in challenging circumstances could rekindle within someone their assertiveness and their decision-making skills in the workplace that they may not be tapping into as much as they have the potential of doing so. It also gives the potential to resolve unresolved issues, right? So many professionals grapple with those barriers to their success, such as fear, insecurity, limiting beliefs, imposter syndrome. There's so many things, but often there's not really an apparent reason for the origin of them. So we sit there and go, where have these come from? Like, why are they here? So a past life regression can offer insight and a unique lens through which to view and understand these issues from a broader perspective. So identifying patterns of unresolved conflicts in the past or gaining clarity on the root cause of their present challenges actually allows people to facilitate a process of healing and resolution, and enables professionals to overcome obstacles that hinder their career advancement. And for example, addressing past life experiences of failure or rejection could liberate an individual from that fear of taking risk or that fear and inability to pursue those leadership opportunities. So it also is great for identifying areas for growth. So engaging in those experiences can highlight recurring themes or lessons that are significant to our soul journey. So we have in this lifetime our life journey on what we need to do, but our soul journey is a collection of all of those different life journeys. And these insights can pinpoint specific areas for personal and professional development. So maybe it's improving communication or fostering more teamwork, or enhancing emotional intelligence. You know, I had one of my clients that went back into a past life, that their past life, they were actually a nun in that past life, and they were actually the head of the convent or wherever they were at that point in time. It was quite a medieval time is what they came up with by the dress standards and the people around them. And they were very regimented and very focused and very strict and within the guidelines. And in this lifetime, they're just living their best life, and they have trouble fitting within a box and, not diagnosed, but maybe fit into some of those ADD tendencies of having lots of projects on the go and being focused in lots of different areas. And what they found was that's meant to be for them in this lifetime. So their soul had experienced that rigidity and that strictness around what their belief systems were and how they were supposed to behave. So in this lifetime, their purpose is to have fun. It's to learn about how to have fun. And a way that I tell people as well is I can't understand what it's like to be tall if I'm always short. So every lifetime we're actually given, we're given some differences so that we can have these different experiences so that we can evolve our soul and we can enrich it with information. So, it's recognizing different patterns that can then allow us to focus on cultivating different competencies that we might need and align development efforts with deeper spiritual growth. So it's not just advancing current career prospects all the time, but evolving as a leader and an individual on that fundamental level. So we mentioned emotional intelligence and empathy, right? So deepening an understanding of those human emotions and interpersonal dynamics is possible through experiencing the lives and perspectives of different personalities across time and across different cultures, right? It gives us an understanding of also sometimes why we might be hesitant or not accepting of a particular culture can sometimes come up too, because there might have been a war or a conflict we might have been involved in. So it also gives professionals the ability to develop a greater capacity for empathy and that emotional intelligence space. And this enhanced sensitivity to the feelings and motivation of others is invaluable in leadership, fostering stronger, more cohesive teams and improving that conflict resolution skills. So It can also help with innovation and creativity. Like I said, that client that I mentioned now is embracing this fun element, and her creativity has just gone through the roof, right? So it's allowing them to think more creatively and embrace innovative solutions. So those experiences that you've had as well beyond this current lifetime can sometimes allow you to draw upon a broader range of ideas and concepts and inspirations, and could lead to a more dynamic approach to problem solving, strategic thinking, and breaking free from conventional patterns and exploring new possibilities. So it does offer a profound and holistic approach to professional development that is really a little bit left field, but backed with science in that space. So while it might not be conventional for professional development, that conventional path that people choose, its potential for transformative insights and lasting change makes it valuable. A really valuable tool for those open to exploring the depths of their psyche and the history of what they've gone through and experienced as a soul. So as we continue to explore this intersection of spirituality and personal growth, the past life regressions really stand out as a compelling methodology for fostering self-awareness, emotional intelligence, and leadership excellence in the modern workplace. And it can come through in a whole range of different ways and how that benefits. Now, as I said, I facilitate mine through hypnosis. So going into the hypnotic state and then regressing people back into those previous lifetimes, and just asking, what do they are they meant to be given? Because there's some information as well that we're not meant to be given in this lifetime, and we already know it. And this is what we're saying about some of the behaviors we have or belief systems we have. It's already in us. We might just not be consciously aware of it, and we may not need to be. So, we can't control what comes up in that space. But I do discourage people from doing a past life regression in the hope that it's going to be a solution for everything, because that's not what it's designed for. If you really want to get to know yourself in this space and really know how to guide yourself, you can do that through meditation quite easily. But if you want to have those additional little insights, or even just do it for the experience to see what comes up, then a past life regression is really helpful as well. But I suppose what I'm saying is, even though I facilitate them and I think they're freaking amazing, I don't think they're essential for people to get to where they need to be. And so I don't want to make it sound like if you don't have one of these, you're not going to get your growth, because that's completely wrong. There's so many different ways that people grow and get to the space where they need to be in a personal development area. So I hope that's given you a little bit more information, demystified and debunked some of the myths that people say about it, taken out some of the fears around it. And if you do want some more information, obviously you're more than welcome to reach out. I have actually started doing some group sessions if you're in my local area, and I'm still doing them because I don't know when you're listening to this podcast. So you can more than welcome to jump on my website and have a look at my courses and events page to see if they're still running, which is usually a good introduction, because then when you're in a group, you don't probably feel like it's so focused one-on-one. But, if you're willing to give it a go and you want to reach out, then I'm happy to have a chat. So thank you very much for listening. And I suppose it's been a big step for me to really step into this space. And you can probably tell that because I've got all the scientific research that backs it up, because I do have quite a logical mind. And when I first had the session that took me into this space, it really confused me. It confused me so much. And at one point I'm like, oh my God, why can I do this? And it was someone else that was giving me some spiritual guidance that said, you've been doing this for lifetimes. And so I started reading books and doing research and looking for courses. And they were just like, do all of that for your own benefit, but you don't need to do a course in this. It'll come back. You just need to remember. And they were dead right. And I think we've all got those gifts within us that we just need to remember are there. Like, we're all very highly gifted, and we've all had so many rich experiences from our soul that we're able to bring into this space. And it's just nice to put it all together like a bit of a puzzle. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this episode, and hopefully as my audience, you're open-minded enough to take it. But you're more than welcome to check out some of those resources as well to validate scientifically some of the things I said, if that's what your brain needs to do. But otherwise, if you want some more information, I'm happy for you to reach out. So thank you for joining me on this episode of Catching the Octopus podcast, and I look forward to serving you again in our next episode. Thanks for joining in and listening to this episode of Catching the Octopus podcast. It's been great having you here. And if you'd like to go and like and subscribe and maybe even leave a 5-star rating if you think it's worth it, I'd really appreciate it. I look forward to seeing you in our next episode.